And welcome back, everyone. Once again, my name is Melissa Acid Sunshine, and I'm joined by Hangman today. And we're here for Long Island Splat 4. We're going to be going into our second round. But first, let's talk about that little teaser.
So for those of you who were around with us around last year's time, Beacon 2018, our first Splatoon major here at Aeon, easily one of the most hype events of the year
Oh, yeah.
for Splatoon. And Beacon 2019 is coming. It's on its way.
Be great.
I think it's going to be even bigger and better than last year's.
I completely agree. We have so many fun things we are planning for everyone. Registration will be opening very, very soon, along with a lot of great swag that you can get before the event, so you're all decked out, ready to go. Make sure that you're ready to sign up and to come and have a great time at this next major. So it's going to be fun.
You know, I was talking with a few Smashers who are also interested in watching Splatoon. There are... I think more Smashers are interested in the Beacon hoodie that's going to come out for 2019
Oh, yeah?
than they are for the actual tournament. The Beacon hoodies are so nice.
They're beautiful. They're great quality. They look absolutely awesome. Here we go. Have one of our models
Here's
right
DJ.
here.
There
DJ
he is.
modeling
There he is.
his Beacon hoodie. Is there something on the back with it, too? Oh, yeah, and our lovely Long Island Summer Splat staff shirts. Yeah, so it's just... We got some really great swag for you guys. And the best feature of the hoodie is that it's so warm.
It's got the
It's
arm
got
holes.
perfect thumb holes. Who didn't do that? Come on. I cut holes in every single one of my sweatshirts. Yeah, it's definitely great for today. And of course, you know, New York is historically pretty cold in the months of March.
It's
so
brick.
It's definitely something that, you know, we want to make sure you're all nice and warm here. So that being said, stay tuned for that. We're going to go right into this next set here. We have 50 Shades of Blue versus Cold-Blooded Krillerz on Manta Maria Tower Control.
All right, so we saw how Tower Control went for 50 Shades of Blue in the previous end to round one. We'll see if they bring things back at all. And see how Cold-Blooded Krillerz offers up a fight. As we go right into the set, let's take a look at the weapons that are ahead of us. And 50 Shades has a very similar layout to what we saw earlier, although they have an addition of a Clash Blaster. How do you think that's going to change things up on this map?
Oh, man. Clash. Oof. Definitely what you want to see for something like Tower Control. It's really good on Manta Maria, so I think that that's a great pick here. But Cold-Blooded Krillerz, I've casted them a couple of times at a couple of different events, and I'm friends with this who we're expecting right now, Uncle Sean, and they're just like a pretty formidable new team to be facing here. So I think that if you're 50 Shades of Blue, you really just need to be on your mark, ready to kind of get the picks that you need over and over again. But the comps are pretty equal, and it's something that we're looking at that's going to work to their advantage, I think.
As Cold-Blooded Krillerz gets the lead here, see, this is the thing to note from earlier. Whenever we saw the bubblers coming out in our previous set, there was not a lot of coordination to what they were able to accomplish. But now, when accompanied with the Stingray and Inkjet, they're covering so much ground. And just look how hard Cold-Blooded Krillerz is able to push forward. Already down to the last 30 points as they're coming down towards that last point.
Yeah, their positioning is also really good. Unfortunately, they go 3 down. That's going to hurt pretty hard. Even their blaster that did have their special in the ready goes down with that. And Tower is going to push probably all the way back to mid to reset. So, you know, their positioning was really good. Just those couple of picks that 50 Shades of Blue was able to take really made it a lot harder for them. So looking over here, looks like this Slashi Machine is going to try to make a couple things happen, going back and forth, waiting for the opportune moment to pull out their second Stingray they have on this team.
Yeah, Stingrays have been going a funny but a fantastic fight. Crystal allows to pull off a little bit of pressure from the team. Bubbles aplenty, they're popping left and right.
Oh my gosh.
And Cold-Blooded Krillerz is actually sitting in a really good position right now. They can force the offensive as they need, but they can play things out defensively as well. Keeping this pressure on 50 Shades is their best bet, but with the lead that they're sitting at, they have all the time in the world to try and cap this out.
Yeah, I think this is really kind of what 50 Shades of Blue needs to kind of push forward, make sure that they're getting the picks that they want. Their Stingray does come out, which is going to help them a little bit, but if they don't have the rest of their specials at the ready, it's not going to do as much for a push as they may need. You know, having that one offensive Stingray might be really nice for what they need here. Ooh. Auto bombs can be so deadly anytime that you play. I love the good humor, though. The booyah coming out. You know, unfortunately, when sometimes we're all going to get splattered at one point and another.
Yes, it is very rare to go a game deathless in competitive play. Especially so I feel on tower control, just because it's a game mode that really forces your team into the fray. You can't really backline too heavily, especially so on Master Maria. There's just too much cover.
There's a lot that you need to do. There's a lot of areas that you can kind of hide and shark around and wait for the tower to come up and get the picks you need of the people riding. So you just have to be prepared to play defensively as well as play offensively. Make sure that you're in the right position. All the things that we pay attention to in this game.
Of course. And Cold-Blooded Krillerz breaks past the final checkpoint. They're looking to go for the cap, and it clocks down, and there it is. Game 1 going in favor of Cold-Blooded Krillerz. I feel overall it was a very textbook play for tower control. I think they did a really good job of making sure they were able to stay mobile. I feel like with tower control, just the availability of mobility is the name of the game. Overall, I feel it's just an excellent point of focus in Splatoon. But the fact that Cold-Blooded Krillerz was able to maintain a firefight from any position on the map is what really helped with making sure that 50 Shades couldn't really do anything.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this move right here was where, you know, Cold-Blooded Krillerz just, two of them going down. I believe that was a trade to that Clash, right? Or to that Blaster on the other side. So, but Chris coming around, getting that pick that you were talking about earlier, really helped them too. So it's just a matter of trying to find a way to stay alive, to be able to continue to build your specials and have your positioning right. And I think that was the issue that we saw with 50 Shades of Blue in the last set too. And maybe something that they'll be able to work on a little bit better when they pick their next map mode.
And for those of us that are joining us just now, it's worth noting that we are using a counterpick system today for the maps. So while there is a heavier pool for splat zones, options being Gobi Arena, Humpback Pump Track, or Inkblot Art Academy, there's also, they can run back tower control, although on New Albacore, Rainmaker to Mako Mart, or Clay Blitz on Anchovy Games. So there's a decent amount of variety available to 50 Shades as we go into Game 2. But I'm curious to see like what's gonna really help them press the advantages that they can have.
Yeah, I think that this could be kind of an interesting idea here. So I'm not totally sure what they decide to go to. I think that splat zones seem to be something a little bit stronger for 50 Shades of Blue. So maybe going back to zones on Inkblot, that would be my pick if it were me. I mean, if it were me, I'd always pick Glamblitz, but you know, that's
Glamblitz on Anchovy Games is a bit of a suspect pick.
It's a little difficult to play Glamblitz on Anchovy. There's a lot of different maneuverability. You have to pay attention and different avenues. It's really easy to kind of block that basket if you're the opposing team and you're making a push. So it's definitely something you have to really enjoy Glamblitz to play on Anchovy. But I think that a lot of these other sets that we have are really good ideas, and I'm interested to see what 50 Shades of Blue decides to go with.
Now, knowing from their strengths that we saw in their previous set that was on stream, I would like them to pick Splat Zone's Gobi Arena. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the strengths we saw in their previous set was mostly when they were able to coordinate full pushes, like full 4v4 fights. They were winning out well. They were well coordinated. Once they got split apart, they didn't coordinate their specials well, and I feel like we also saw that issue here on Game 1 of this set with Cold-Blooded Krillerz. But Gobi Arena lends itself very well to larger, less open fights, just because it's a bit more of a tight-ended map.
Yeah, I think that's actually why I think I'd rather see them, you know, we might both be wrong and they might go for zones on Humpback, because I think that they've done a lot better when they're on more of an open map. Like when we're looking at some of the sets from round 1, you know, they did a little better when they were on Mako Mart and they had more maneuverability to go throughout the map area to build their special. You know, definitely something that they're kind of going to be, you know, working on figuring things out. Oh. Okay, well, word from on high. We're going to be replaying that map and mode due to a disconnect. So it looks like we're waiting for that last person just came into the lobby, and we'll be redoing this one full stop.
All right, a bit of a second lease on life for 50 Shades of Blue. I'm curious to see if they make any proper adjustments going into this Game 1 Redux. Just on the basis that, like, I feel like Cold-Blooded Krillerz just played it really simple, really effectively. I don't think they would change anything, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know if there's going to be much of a change.
I think, as far as I know, when replays happen, they're not going to change their loadouts at all. So they're going to stick with the same weapons and gear that they used for the first one.
Right.
But definitely positioning, knowing where to be, how the other team plays is really important. And I think that that might be something that they take for a second and decide to kind of rethink how they're going to do a couple things.
Definitely. Reapproaching how they try to play around cold-blooded Krillerz is their best bet. I'm just curious to see, like, what are the changes that they can be making? Are they changing out loadouts over there? Just from what we were able to see from the player screens?
I'm not totally sure. It looks like they might be changing a couple things. I didn't quite think that that was in the rules, but, we're a little lax here today, so...
It is a bit of a quieter day, but
yeah.
We'll see if it has an impact, because... Like I was saying earlier, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if there's really much that 50 Shades can change as far as the impact of this match, just because executionally speaking, Cold-Blooded Krillerz was very well organized in how they were going for their pushes, how they were laying on their aggression, and 50 Shades seemed pretty discombobulated from those efforts. I don't think, unless they really rally behind this Game 1 second chance and change up how they approach the game, I don't think we will see a different outcome, at the very least for Game 1.
I agree. So here we go, going back into this Game 1, Manta Maria Tower Control. Let's see how they play this a little differently.
All right, the score is reset. We go back into Game 1 proper, and...
They kept the same weapons here.
All right, at the very least, we're looking at the same for that. So we could probably be looking forward to Stingray Wars between both sides. Curious to see if there's any other influences to change. I know we saw a lot of usage out of bubblers from both sides as well for controlling center stage. We'll see if that is a returning impact.
Yeah.
As far as features of this map, we didn't really get a chance to discuss. There's a lot of opportunities for flanks to establish. Now, we saw that in the previous game that was played. Flanks held a key role for Cold-Blooded Krillerz maintaining their map pressure. But there's a lot of opportunities on both sides for being able to reposition themselves. They don't necessarily have to go through that main inked avenue.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the positioning is probably the most important thing that 50 Shades of Blue could change here. If they can kind of find a way to have a little more map control and position themselves to move throughout the map a little better, that would be most helpful. But right here, it looks like that Slashing Machine trying to get a pick on Uncle here. Not quite what they're going for. They finally do get them down, which stops the tower, even with this Stingray coming out.
And 45 points, not necessarily a large lead, especially as it sits within that little cavern between the high grounds. It's barely easy to hold the point there because firefights can linger really well, and pretty often to see like one person hold it, bring it to center stage, and then let it sit around there.
Yeah, I think this is really where, they need to be kind of pushing forward. I know Roxy was sort of waiting for a little bit of support. Nice escape from that auto bomb. Not sure that they're going to get away from the Slashing Machine, though. Definitely targeting them. Bringing these bubbles out is a little bit of a defensive maneuver. They do get the trade, which is good, but having their Slashing Machine the only one up, this is going to be the opportunity Cold-Blooded Krillerz has been waiting for to make a strong push.
Yeah, with 3 down on 50 Shades, when that is the case, like Cold-Blooded Krillerz was able to move their entire team inwards, and this is the clampdown that we had seen in the, when they previously played. It's like they're just well organized in how they're able to force out 50 Shades. However, it's worth noting that 50 Shades is a bit stronger on their defensive measures this time, trying to take more advantage of the cover that Manta Maria provides.
Completely. I think one of the things that Cold-Blooded Krillerz wasn't really working on last time was creating a flank. Every time that they are able to push that tower up to that narrow, they unfortunately go down because everyone is right there to stop them. If they have someone flanking around who can jump over that block on the right-hand side and come around, that's going to really help them.
Tower rides itself in. Doesn't look like there's anyone to cover it on 50 Shades' side. These separate firefights, I think, brutal for this case of 50 Shades.
Yeah, that's exactly the picks that Miss needed there to be able to really help the team and continue to push the tower. They came around just like I said that they needed. pushed on the flank, was able to get a couple of people down, and that's, you know, what they're going for. Those bubbles coming out, great offensive maneuver right there, clearing the way for the tower, and this is really only a matter of time. If someone can just touch it, ride it for a couple seconds, this would be it.
Solid defense from 50 Shades keeps themselves alive, but for how long? Only 6 points needed to ride in. Stingray's going to do a really good job of forcing Cold-Blooded Krillerz off, but missed trying to get in the last point, and it's going to be it. Game 1 is going to Cold-Blooded Krillerz.
I think also that Stingray is something we can touch upon a little bit. You know, whenever you're on tower and a Stingray comes out, you get terrified. And you have this kind of like inner gut reaction of jumping off tower, letting it go, being able to kind of get away from the Stingray to stay alive. But in that instance, it would have just been fine for teammates to continue to jump in as they went down to the Stingray. They were so close, they could have knocked it out a lot faster. It worked out for them, exactly what they needed. But, you know, in that instance, it could be a good idea to just kind of maintain your position and continue to get onto the tower. So I think that, you know, both teams played it really well, though. Definitely glad we got to see, you know, them play without the disconnect. And I'm interested to see what their counterpick decides to be.
Given how I feel like the main adaptation that was made by 50 Shades of Blue coming into this Game 1 proper was they played it out a lot more defensively. They were a lot more aware of how CBK was going to play things out aggressively, answered accordingly. And while it didn't work out for them, it's worth noting this wasn't as much of a like a convincing win as previous.
I agree. It wasn't as much of a shutout as the first one. But these picks right here from Mist are really what helped them push forward, because that was who was kind of guarding that area where the tower needed to come around the corner, and I think that that's what they needed to do.
Now, as they take that adaptation moving forward into Game 2, I had said this earlier, but I feel Splat Zone Segobi should be their pick, and it looks like that is what they're going to be going for. Now, whether or not it's for the reasons that I had established earlier is up for debate, but once again, I feel like this would be a really good pick for 50 Shades of Blue because the map is a lot more tight-ended. It lends itself more towards full team offenses. And as we saw in Game 1, like the individualized picks that CBK managed to secure really helped them cement their control of the map.
Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely right. And, you know, really kind of what they're going for here, I think they have a little bit of a better shot on Gobi. Like you were saying earlier, you know, their positioning could be better. It's a lot more areas for them to kind of get to mid faster, be able to take zone. I think also the weapons that they were playing are pretty good for controlling the zone. Maybe I would leave the double Stingray at home, but, you know, bring out something else that could paint a little bit. But I think this is, you know, what they're looking for here. We'll see how it works out for them.
I feel specials on the whole. Bubbles work really nicely on this map, both offensively and defensively, just because they have potential to ink a decent amount of space, but also they're really good for covering the tighter corridors of Gobi.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm always a fan of the bomb rushes for this map. I feel like they could also provide a lot of defensive cover.
I completely agree. So I'm looking forward to see if they decide to pull out one of those bomb rushes, and that's what they go for. Okay, all right. I think that this is pretty good. It looks like we have
very different loadouts from both sides.
I love the Booyahs coming out. You know, always good spirit to just come in and have a good time. That's what this game's all about. You know, as competitive as we may get, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. Even seeing this Bloblobber come out, you know, really interesting pick on the side of Cold-Blooded Krillerz. Definitely something I would do. It's a really fun weapon to play. You know, it has a lot of potential for getting the picks that you need, and the blobs are just really fun to watch wander around the map.
On top of that, there's just a ton of firepower and control that lends itself to this map, especially because it doesn't have a lot of very aggressive geometries, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of heavy covers, and the angle of which the Bloblobber is flinging gives a lot of really good cover. And just looking at the score right now, it's been a very convincing lead for CBK, and they don't seem to be letting up on it at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, having that one member go down might be it, because it was kind of their blaster, but Uncle is doing a really great job holding down the fort. Unfortunately, they go down to those missiles, and this is an opportunity that 50 Shades of Blue has been looking for, that this could give them a good amount of time to break down this point.
It's been nearly a minute's worth of penalty points. CBK's got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, it looks like this is kind of where, you know, Cold-Blooded Krillerz still has the lead by quite a lot, and breaking down their penalty here is going to do a good amount of work. But they continue to get these trades that is just going to make it a little bit easier for 50 Shades of Blue to break back in.
Yeah, Cold-Blooded Krillerz needs to figure out a way to coordinate their picks so that they can have a bit more of an impact on the map right now, because if they keep on going for trades the way that they are, the map will fall in favor of 50 Shades. They're not sitting on a lot of penalty points, and they keep on living out with more squids to be able to control the map.
I think that's a big thing to be said here. I think also the comp that they're running on the side of Cold-Blooded Krillerz isn't going to paint maybe as well as the 50 Shades of Blue one with all those kind of shooting weapons, but they're definitely getting the picks that they need over and over again.
Yeah, this is definitely the weapon loadout that says, I am ready to fight your team. There's not a lot that lends itself towards like traditional ink coverage or solid coordination of weapons. It's really just, we came to throw down. And generally speaking, it's working out for CBK. They're able to pick away bit by bit at their penalty points.
Yeah, I think that they've been doing a really great job so far to just break down this penalty and bring it back. The rain might cause a little bit of an issue for them. Even having that Stingray might do a couple of things. It does get one, so that's going to help. But, you know, 50 Shades of Blue is not giving up.
You know, on the topic of ink control, as we were just established, and one thing I do want to bring up for CBK, the splatling that they have has been putting in work for making sure that there's plenty of room for CBK to move, but as well as making sure 50 Shades is forced to walk through a lot of the main avenues of passage on this map. It's leaving them very open. But a quick triple from 50 Shades is going to allow them to try and turn the tides a little bit. Just not enough players around the point to really take control.
Yeah, they do end up getting control of zone, so if they can hold it for a little bit, that's going to help. Unfortunately, Jason does go down to that blaster, and it just seems like these are kind of like one goes down, someone defends, someone else goes down, so it's really not what they're looking for here. But, you know, 50 Shades of Blue is in control right now as Cold-Blooded Krillerz begins to respawn and come back into mid.
Yeah, the momentum of this match found itself falling out of whack very quickly, because now CBK sitting on a hefty amount of penalty points once again, but they're still sitting at a comfortable point level, especially with the last 60 seconds of the match clocking in.
Yeah, that penalty was pretty rough for 50 Shades of Blue. Although it's not a lot of time, it's enough when you add in the short amount of time that Cold-Blooded Krillerz would need to actually knock this out. And I think, you know, it's going to be a little difficult for them. They need to get these picks and coordinate their specials a little bit better than they have been so far to be able to get this.
I feel like a lack of coordination is really the nail in the coffin for 50 Shades of Blue's plays. While they do seem to control the map well, they just keep on going in one by one, and it just keeps on marching them to defeat as Game 2 falls in favor of CBK.
I'm not quite sure if 50 Shades of Blue was a pickup created for this event or they play in anything else, but as I mentioned when we were going into this round, Cold-Blooded Krillerz have been doing really well and participating a lot in a bunch of online tournaments, so they've been having a good time and really learning how their synergy works together, and I think that really shows. You know, it's definitely something to be said that they're looking at what they're doing, they're coordinating their specials, they're making sure that they're ready to push forward when they can, and that's something that 50 Shades of Blue definitely doesn't have. So I think that with a little bit of practice and a little more working together, by the end of the day, I think they're going to be great as a team. But, you know, we're still pretty early in the day.
Yep, and they still have a game to go. This isn't over yet. Even if this isn't a 3-0, they still have a way to, you know, pull themselves together, still learn. Speaking of, as we look towards the map pool for what they have left in round 2, I feel like they may want to fall things back to a bit of a more chaotic type of fight. I think this would be the time to call for either Splat Zone's Inkblot or for Clemblitz and Chovy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would almost, for this team, pick Rainmaker Mako Mart because they did do really well on that Zones Mako Mart one before. So maybe that's what we're going to do. I hear a couple things happening on our end of the game, but I'm not totally sure what they decided to go with here.
As I look over to the spectator host, it seems like Macomart Rainmaker was the pick, so good call on your hef. Now, if they're able to just control the layout of the map well, I feel like we could see the repeat performance of 50 Shades winning out Macomart. However, gameplay-wise, I feel like Rainmaker's fairly more linear for Macomart. There's like two main avenues of bringing the Rainmaker itself, and securing those avenues is very much like a full team offensive. So in that, just off of that on paper, 50 Shades of Blue should be able to take the momentum back into their hands, because like I was saying earlier, when it's the full 4v4, when they can make sure that they're not getting picked by pick, like, they do well.
I completely agree. I think also, like you mentioned, like a little bit of chaos might be really good for them here. So like you said, if they're not getting these picks over and over again, going down continuously, they're going to do well. I think they also have a little bit better map positioning on this map, so that might help them too. You know, it's going to give them like a little bit of an opportunity to be able to figure out where they want to be, how they're going to push this Rainmaker. You know, when we talk about Rainmaker Macomart specifically, there are two main routes that people tend to take. You know, you tend to go up the left side, up the box, and kind of down that uninkable ramp, turn left, and go towards the podium. Or if you're totally prepared and everyone is down, you can make that right-hand side push that's super fast, very quick, but it's really difficult to do. The offense, you really have to be on point to be able to get through that.
Yeah, I feel like more than anything else, it's just very precarious to lock that area down, because it's super easy to just get funneled into a trap on the right-hand side. Nonetheless, we'll see how things pull out. 50 Shades in the yellow, CBK in light blue, and both teams break. Let's get a quick look at the loadouts, and I'm seeing a Ludo Blaster on the side of CBK. That'll be very interesting to see how that works out.
For sure. I'm really interested in how they decide to pull that off. Right away, it looks like two go down on the side of Shades of Blue. So that's really not going to be very helpful for them. But, you know, Rainmaker, anything happens very, very quickly. So CBK looking like they're actually taking an opportunity just to play it slow, wait for their route to be clear enough for them to push forward. And this is, you know, the path that I was talking about that tends to be the most played. But pushing Chris all the way back to that area, getting the don't retreat over and over again from the game, you know, this is really going to take down that point a lot faster for how long they can hold the Rainmaker.
Yeah, that was a deep fallback, and I feel like CBK is going to get punished heavily for that. They lose control of the Rainmaker, and sitting a bit further than neutral positioning, if 50 Shades can grab that, they're sitting pretty for being able to run that back. However, CBK grabs it again. They're going to try to reposition themselves again, and it seemed like they wanted to coordinate themselves for the more safe approach, but the avenue is open for them to go for the more deadly approach, and they're going to get themselves to 39 points and counting.
Yeah, that's a fast one. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you have that pathway clear and ready to go, you can push up really far, really quick, and that's the exact type of play that I mean. So great job there. It looks like 50 Shades of Blue is coming around to regroup. They're going to take their time, figure out where they want the Rainmaker, if they decide to pick it up or just let it reset.
I think that their best position would be to reset it and then try to grab it from center stage, just because it sits in a really bad position for them to try and run it. And really well-timed Booyah Bomb trying to force themselves a path to the Rainmaker. Now let's see if it works out for 50 Shades, because this is a fairly well-coordinated push, something I've been saying that they really need to start executing.
Definitely. And I think that that player, I couldn't read their name there, but definitely had some really nice movement. I thought they were going to fall off. Jumping to avoid that blob lobber. And of course, Mist is able to pick up the Rainmaker and decide to push forward. So this is really where they need someone playing defense here. All those misses.
That was such a good missile strike.
That's
there was nowhere for him to go. There was nowhere for him to go.
Inkry throwing that Booyah Bomb in, going to try to clear a little bit of a path for one of the teammates to push forward, using the Rainmaker also to ink just a bit. They just need some other teammates to be ahead of them to play some nice defense. Maybe a flank around Uncle Sean here, who's just like waiting on this heavy to mow people down.
Once again, the Rainmaker in a bit of a precarious situation, but with enough ink on the field, CBK is able to move it forward, see if they can increase their lead a little bit. Ink dangerously close to the podium. 50 Shades going to stop them once again, and it's already in a really bad position. Whether or not CBK wants to move this forward, they're able to. And if not, 50 Shades has to force the reset, because it's in a really bad spot for them to try and run it out.
Yeah, I think that this is really where Cold-Blooded Krillerz has an opportunity to actually knock this out. They still have 2 members alive. If Sean can stay alive right now, all those missiles, yikes. Unfortunately, you just can't resist the power of 10 missiles. There's nowhere to go.
Nah, yeah, the buffs they gave to the missiles is beautiful. Like, it offers so much coverage, whether or not you're using it to go on the offensive or to support a further push of specials. It's just so useful now. Nonetheless, getting ourselves back into the match, and 50 Shades still plenty lively as they go for the reset on the Rainmaker. And once again, they're using the Booyah Bomb to try and pave the way for their push, this time even putting in a little bit of damage on the shield. They can grab that and get the running. You can see them back in this game.
Yeah, I think this is really kind of where they're looking to do. Both teams, I think, went 4 down, right?
Yeah,
that was a wipe on both sides.
That was a bloody fight. No one left standing, but at the end of it all, 50 Shades trying to put some numbers on the board, and they get a fairly solid push for a solo squid with the Rainmaker, but it's back into CBK territory. Less than a minute on the clock, and honestly, CBK can play this out lane if they wanted to. They can try to camp this out, or if they want, they could attempt the full push. Clock's on their side.
They decided to reset it. I think that was a really good move. Get it out of their zone, really make 50 Shades of Blue work for this. Jason up here, popping that Inkjet to use as some defense. If they can get the picks that they're looking for here, it's a really good idea for some of their teammates to kind of move that Rainmaker a little bit, but it doesn't look like they're able to get what they're going for. Booyah's come out. I think the Booyah's going to offer some really nice cover at this point. Let's see what they decide to do.
It looks like they're going to go for the more dangerous play of bringing it towards the right. I think that's a really solid play given the lack of time on the board. However, CBK just has this clenched down. And with pick after pick, it doesn't look like that thing is going anywhere. This is looking like it's going to be a 3-0 finish for CBK as we come down to the last 5 seconds.
Yeah, oh, beautiful double there too. Absolutely lovely. You know, when you get those blaster doubles and you're just like, I look at a player, I'm like, I can never play blaster.
I love the Luna Blaster. It is my favorite weapon in Splatoon, and seeing picks like with it like that just remind me of Splat 1 so much.
Oh, completely.
Like the weapons of Shadow of its former self, but seeing the amount of picks that Mousco's sitting on with that, excellent play. A solid 3-0 for CBK as we end things out. Although it is worth noting that it looked like 50 Shades of Blue really rallied themselves behind. Maybe it is the map. Maybe they just feel really comfortable with Mako Mart, regardless of the layout changes between game modes. But this initial push really put it to stone that like 50 Shades came to play. They forced a really deep pushback that forced the hand of CBK to make this an aggressive map.
Yeah, I think that that push was really their answer there. If they had been able to pick up the Rainmaker while it was deep in the side of CBK, I think that 50 Shades of Blue would have had a better opportunity to kind of push forward, but just no one was there and no one was ready to pick it up. Look at all those missiles on Mist. Like
That's
all
terrifying.
Those little tick
it's a
marks.
circle.
It's crazy.
It even ends in a further circle. Like, we went from playing Splatoon to playing Toho. There is no way around that bullet hell.
It's so true. It's really terrifying to be able to try to get out of those. And once again on Uncle, you know, it's something that you really can't get away from. If you have nowhere to go, once they start falling around you, you're just going down. The beautiful buff of missiles.
And I feel like one decision that worked out really well in 50 Shades' favor is whenever there was a reset, whether it was CBK or 50 Shades, because once the battle returned to a bit more of open-endedness, it was actually fairly open until we saw that final play where there was picks after picks.
Yeah. I think that it was definitely, you know, pretty fun to watch and a really great set. So I'm super excited to see what we have in store for the rest of them.
Yes, I know our next match we're going to be looking at round 3 is going to be Cold-Blooded Krillerz once again, fighting off against Pythonic. So we'll see if CBK can take this momentum and roll that forward, because a 3-0 is nothing to scoff at.
For sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes, and you guys should be too. We'll be back in just a few minutes with our round 3 games.
Make sure to hang tight.